Welcome back. In this step, we will create a simple microservice. We will call this microservice as limits service. There are a couple of values which are configurable that we are really interested in. These are called the maximum value and the minimum value. What we want to do is initially we want to get these values from application.properties. So we'll create a service in this application to retrieve those two values from application.properties. Later, we would connect this microservice to a Spring Cloud config server to retrieve the configured values. For now, let's focus on what is needed to create this microservice. I'm at start.spring.io and I'm choosing generate a Maven project. Java is the language. Make sure that you choose a version of Spring Boot which is at least 2.0.0. I would recommend not to use this snapshot. So 2.0.0 M3, or if there is a latest released version of 2.0, you can use that as well. Typically, the group ID we would be using all through the microservices part of the course is com in 28 minutes microservices. And the artifact ID is very important. Typically, we don't really care about the artifact ID because there would be one or two projects that we would be creating. But during this microservices part of the course, we would be creating n number of projects. We would be creating more than 10 projects. So what we would recommend you to do is exactly use the artifact ID that we have in here. So I would recommend you to use limits hyphen service as the artifact ID. Now we can choose the dependencies. We would want to develop a simple service in here. So I would choose starting as web. As usual, we would choose DevTools. DevTools gives us the flexibility of picking up the application changes without needing to restart the server. We would use Actuator. Spring Boot Actuator provides monitoring capabilities around our application. And the last thing I want to use is called config client. So config client, Spring Cloud config client. This is not going to be used in the initial stages, but later, once we establish the Spring Cloud config server, we would use the Spring Cloud config client to connect to the Spring Cloud config server. We'll talk more about it when we get to the Spring Cloud config server. For now, we are ready. The important things for you to focus on are to use a Spring Boot version which is greater than 2.0.0. Do not use a snapshot version. So 2.0.0 M3 is the latest one I have right now, so I'm using that. If there's a released version after this, you can use that as well. The group ID is com in 28 minutes microservices. The artifact ID we used is limits hyphen service. And we have chosen the dependencies web, DevTools, Actuator, and config client. Now you can go ahead and click generate project. This would download a zip to your downloads folder. What you can do is unzip the zip and put it on some folder on your hard disk. I can import the folder as a Maven project. File, import existing Maven projects. You can type in existing here. Oops, existing projects into workspace, not that one. We have to choose existing Maven projects. So once you choose existing Maven projects, you get the option to enter a directory from which you want to import the Maven project from. What I want to do is to import it from the folder where you unzipped your zip file to. I have unzipped my zip file to 03 microservices limits hyphen service. So this is the folder path. You can copy it and paste it in here, or you can use the browse to that. And once you do that, you should see the limit service, the pom.xml for the limit service come up. What you can do now is just say finish. If this is the first time you are using this specific version of Spring Boot, this might take a while. It is importing the complete project and it would set it up for you. Once the entire project is set up, what you would see are folders like these: source main Java, source main resources, source test Java. What I would do is I would go to source main Java and run the limit service application. There is nothing that is present here right now, but I just wanted to make sure that I'm able to launch this up fine. So I would say limit service application, right click, run as Java application. Because we have a web dependency on the class path, this would launch up as a web application inside Tomcat. As you can see, it launches up Tomcat on port 8080. That's cool. We have now created a simple microservice for the limits service. In the subsequent steps, we will add a couple of services to this limit service. Until then, bye bye.